Unfortunately, the crisis of this election is just a continuation of the crisis of the 2016 election. After Hillary Clinton lost, the Democrats started blaming everyone but themselves. But eventually, a commission came together made up of Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders appointees, 21 people total, to investigate the Democratic Party, figure out what went wrong, and fix it, and put forward a set of reforms. It took 2 years. I was on that commission. And you may recall there was this clip of me that went pretty viral where I lost it. I just lost it. And the reason I lost it is because after 2 years, incredible compromise, and that morning having agreement from the other side as to what we were going to vote on, a few of the members of the other side flipped when we went on the floor to vote. I was not the only one who lost it. There were 2 speeches before me where people lost it, but for some reason, maybe because I dropped an F-bomb, that was the moment that went viral, and it was the first time C-SPAN had covered this event. So I'm going to remind you guys, watch this clip. I don't think my values or my views and the resolutions that need to happen are any different than what needs to happen today. In fact, even more so, and we probably have more support. It is a little cringy watching myself from a few years ago, but it was a very emotional moment, so check it out. Just a nice little reminder about how we need to change the Democratic Party. This smells. This doesn't just smell to the public right now that the budget of the party was never put before. Forget about the Budgetary Committee for a second. Put before the people who have a fiduciary responsibility, whether it's Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, whether it's Donna Brazile when she was chair, when she was vice chair, or Vice Chair Ray Buckley, or Dr. Jim Zogby over here. That's over half the executive committee right there, had no idea where the money was going. We spent $1 billion, lost the easiest presidential race you could possibly imagine, with joint fundraising agreements. State parties weren't being funded. During the DNC chair's race, there were some state party chairs who said, I'm an acting executive director and I have $3,000 cash on hand. How are you supposed to rebuild the party if you have no idea where that money was spent? And you know what? I did go through FEC filings. And it doesn't look good. It smells. We're talking about close to $700 to $800 million between the joint fundraising agreement and the DNC being spent on 5 consultants. Uh-oh. This is not a public outrage issue. The DNC chairs are upset. The officers are upset. And I don't know who's on the Budget and Finance Committee. I did go to the meeting. It was 15 minutes long, and there was a pie chart that was put on screen. Yeah. But I would, as a Democratic Party member of this commission, we have a duty, and people are watching us right now. The number one issue I get asked out in the public by DNC members is, what are you going to do about the budget? It is absolutely ridiculous that we are going to keep a status quo system when it basically says we're going to continue to lose 1,200 seats. Let me describe what losing 1,200 seats looks like, or the remaining seats we have. If you're in Trump, yes, but let's break that down a little bit. If you're in Arizona and you have an ectopic pregnancy, you can't go to a Planned Parenthood clinic because it's gone, because that state legislature is lost. So you have to drive over to New Mexico. And if you bleed to death on the way, you know whose fault that is? In my mind, that's a Democratic Party that wasn't funded, recruiting candidates, investing in local parties. And that is our fault, because we have put that money to the top 5 consultants. And part of that has to go to the conflicts of interests. This is outrageous. It's unethical. It's bad governance. And frankly, it's fucking, corruption. So if we do want to look at this Budget and Finance Committee, I advise that it be an elected Budget and Finance Committee. We have very clear standards of oversight. And that it is not just looking at past budgets, but putting forth a budget for debate with the people who have a fiduciary responsibility in that room, so that they can find out, is this an open bid contract? Because the budget, Congresswoman Fudge mentioned it doesn't have to do with vendors. Well, the majority of the budget goes to vendors. So we have to have a conversation about who are those vendors. I agree. And that would happen through a Budget and Finance Committee or another committee. But I think what's key is that committee has oversight, and it is elected, because right now these committees are stacked with whoever the chair decides is on the committee. And I don't know what the chair's interests are, because he's been chair for 8 months. I don't know who he's in line with. But we don't have time. We have a freak in the White House and state legislatures controlled by Republicans, and poor state party chairs like Jane Klebb having to go out there and fundraise on her own because the Democratic Party isn't able to allocate money. Well, all that money, we went to presidential races, but it was burned, lit on fire. And who suffers as a result of some consultants getting third, fourth, and fifth homes? The American people. People being rounded up by ICE. Let's keep this in perspective right now. We have a duty here, and it is not just a duty to our committeemen and the status quo. It's a duty to the American people, to the Democratic Party members, to the DNC chairs, to the DNC members, the executive committee members, and the people who have a fiduciary responsibility.
Dr. Zogby, Jim Zogby, yep, you had your hands up.
This resolution, this issue is very important, and important to me personally. I do not want to lose it. I do not want to have a